G'day humans, Chris Stead here. Today I'm reviewing Roborock's flagship robot vacuum. This is the Roborock S8 MaxV Ultra. So the Roborock S8 MaxV Ultra is the 2024 step up from 2023's S8 Pro Ultra. And as the names would suggest, this is not an evolution, it's not the S9, which will no doubt come in 2025. This is more of an iteration, but that's probably a bit harsh because there's actually a lot of big improvements in this and there's a lot going on as we're going to go through. Now, we're going to dive in here with my review of the MaxV Ultra, the S8 MaxV Ultra, and we're going to start with the price. So this puppy is going to set you back around $3,000 here in Australia. Now, depending on the deal, you might be able to get it for as low as $2,800. I had a bit of a look around. I did see it that low in a few places, but that's still, obviously quite the investment. Now, these premium top of the range robot vacuum cleaners are pricey though, and when we look at say like the EcoVacs or the Yeti and kind of some of the others around this kind of range, competition to this device, they do sit in that mid 2000s mark. So it's kind of on the higher end, but it's still kind of within the same, I guess, ecosystem as the rest of its competitors. So, that's what you're looking at paying if you want to get one of these devices. Now, the one thing I will point out is that they do strongly advise that you use the Roborock detergent in this device, not just kind of something off the shelf. And so that's potentially an added cost you need to think about. It does last a long time, but I am disappointed that that price, I didn't include at least one bottle with the actual purchase. So when you get it and you open it up for the first time and you go to use it, there's nothing you can put in. You've got to go and order one straight away, effectively. They say you've got to use that because other detergents can be a bit thicker in certain compounds and can clog the system. That's the reason why. But on the positive side, there's a lot of features that are app-bound here and none of it's gated behind a paywall. You get full access to all of the things in here. All right, so let's start with a bit of a comparison. I wanted to kind of dive into all the features that are in this thing, but realistically there's just so much going on. So what I thought I might do is just point out the things where it's literally just kind of stepped up from that 2023 predecessor, the S8 Pro Ultra. So as mentioned, Roborock just keeps packing more and more into these flagship robot vacuums. So with the S8 MaxV Ultra, the side brush has been upgraded so it can get further out and deeper into corners and edges. So less than 2 millimeters is the claim, that's how close it'll get to a wall. And it's got this flexi arm system, which basically means when it gets to a corner, the little arm brush on the side reaches out further into the corner to kind of really get the stuff out of there, which is a pretty cool addition. Now the mopping system has also been upgraded to Viborize 3.0, so it now has 2 vibration modules inside for scrubbing. And they scrub some 4,000 times a minute. So that's going to get those kind of stuck on stains off your wood, off your tiles. Now the mop can now lift 20 millimeters as opposed to 10 millimeters. So that's a significant jump. And it's going to help a lot of people have like rugs in the middle of their floor or high pile carpet, that kind of thing. Keeps the mop right up off the carpet when it transitions between surfaces. You've got deeper voice control. So more terms are understood. The suction power is up dramatically from 6,000 PA to 10,000 PA. You've now got intelligent dirt detection in the actual dock, which means basically it'll monitor the water that's coming back off the mop and then decide whether or not it needs to go back out and redo the surface. We're seeing this in a couple of the competitors as well, so this is one of the new features for 2024. It's pairing up in a few places. This dock also has an auto dosing feature, which I think might be exclusive to this device in the Roborock range. I might be wrong there, but I think this might be the first time we've seen it. And so basically you just put your detergent in and it's just gonna dose it for you whenever it does a resupply of water to the device. The battery life is the same, which is 180 minutes, which is plenty, but the dock height has been reduced. So it's not so much of an eyesore, I guess, in your home. It doesn't take up as much space, but that does come at the cost of less dust and water capacity. That's something to note. So let's talk about the dock specifically here. And as you can see, it's still a pretty big unit, but it is smaller. But it's pretty smartly designed. So you've got your 2 bins at the top here. It's as easy as that to take them in and out. So that's your clean water, and that is your dirty water. and you don't have to do anything, it's all done automatically. The front here just kind of comes off and on quite easily to get you access to your dust bag, which I must admit isn't filling up as quickly as I thought it would. It does come with a secondary one of these, so you do get a second spare one in the box. But this hasn't filled up nearly as much as I thought. But this does come out, and that's where you're going to get your auto dosing in there. So you can fill it up with your detergent, and it's going to dose. And see if I can do this in reverse, but this usually just clips straight back on, yeah, like that. So really quite easy to get on and off. So like I was saying, this is all fully automated. It just kind of comes back into its dock with ease, and it'll do all the drying for you. It'll heat the water up to 60 degrees for your mopping. After you come back, it'll do all the drying for you. I found this device to be quieter than previous robots that I've used. I mean, they're not quiet in general. They are loud, but sometimes they can be like a jet plane taking off. I found this one to be a fair bit quieter than previous models, and also models from other brands that I've used before. And it advertises a 30% faster charging rate, and I have found it's actually charged quite quick. So that's good as well. The one thing that I haven't been overly stoked with is that it is supposed to auto dry the mop afterwards, and it's doing something, it's blowing hot air, you can hear it happening. But I do find when I lift it off that the mop is still quite damp. And I'm not 100% sure if that's because it's failing to do what it needs to do, or whether that's just dry enough. But luckily, as it lifts at 20 millimeters, it kind of stays off the carpet anyway if it goes back out. So I haven't noticed any sort of like residue dragging either across the carpet or across the floor after it's been in use. It's a bit damp, but it's well out of the way, if that makes sense. And it's worth noting as well that there is a second type of dock you can get, which is a fair bit shorter because it gets rid of these altogether and you plumb it in. So if you're building a house from scratch and you're definitely going to have one of these, you can actually install it so that you never have to do a thing. Right, so before I go into how this device performs, I thought I'd give you a little bit of a run through of the use case that I've got here. So I think it's a pretty complex house that a device like this at the premium top range is really well suited for. So on a multi-story house, on the bottom floor, it's probably about 70% hardwood. But then I've also got quite a thick rug, I don't know if you can see it in the camera here behind me, on the floor. And I've got a room that's carpeted, and I've also got a bathroom which is tiled. And then on the upstairs level, it's about 90% carpet, and then there's a couple of bathrooms which are tiled as well. Now, I've been really impressed by how quickly this has mapped both locations. It does a really good job of that mapping. It's like really thorough. When I got the maps back, I was looking at them, I was like going, oh wow, that's my house. And it was quite quick. It was a lot quicker than I thought it'd be. I thought it'd be mapping for a long time, but it did a really good job kind of getting out there. The object detection's pretty good. It kind of identifies that there's furniture in certain spots, allows you to label that furniture and identify what it is. And I think that might tie into the voice controls as well. So you can like label rooms, like you can label a room a kitchen and then tell it to just by voice to just do the kitchen, or you can go into the app and kind of play around with it like that. So what I end up doing is I've had this kind of downstairs, let the downstairs do a run, and then when I want to take it upstairs, I've just literally physically picked it up, taken it upstairs, plugged it back in, and then it just takes off and does the upstairs area. I'll go into the performance a bit more about how it transitions between floors, because it's between surfaces, because that's definitely a strength of this robot vacuum. But one of the things that I'm not quite happy about is the way that the app looks at the difference between multi-story. So when you want to switch between one map and another, there's no obvious and clear way to do that. It will auto-detect it, so you can just kind of let it just do its thing, and it'll come out and go, whoa, I'm not where it thinks I am, and change to the different map. But if you want to manually do that, it's kind of buried in the app, and that's one of the flaws of the app, is that a lot of the kind of side features, and there's so many little functions and customization options and things you can do with the app, they're kind of buried off in side menus and not that really user intuitive. I think I could definitely do some work there. So if you want to manually change between the maps, the only way I kind of worked out to do it is to edit a map, and that just kind of brings it to front of mind, and then you just basically drop back out, and then it goes, oh, now I'm on this map, as opposed to just toggling between the two, which would be the more straightforward way, right? So that's just something that it could definitely improve on. But in general, yeah, did a really good job mapping, did a really good job with the object detection, and it hasn't gone flying off any stairs or anything crazy like that. And once it's done, it's kind of run. It's pretty thorough in where it gets to. The only thing it's had trouble with is I've got to step up into one of the bathrooms upstairs from the carpet. It's probably about best part of an inch, so it's a fair step up. It couldn't get up that. And I don't blame it. I'm not surprised it couldn't get up that. The other bathroom's got a smaller step up and it did get up that. So that's just one thing to consider if you've got some kind of little variances in floor height. So how does it go? Look, I'm going to break this into some pros and cons. So let's talk about the pros. When it's happy, and yes, this robot can get sad, when it's happy, it does a really, really good job. I'm stoked with the way that it's transitioned between what is, I would think, a pretty complex layout in the house. It gets around all the objects that I've got in the way. Like I'm gonna lift the chairs up and you get stuff off the floor, obviously, but it gets around the tables, it gets around the coffee tables. Upstairs, some of the beds are a bit higher than others and it will go under the beds it can go under. It can determine that and do that. I cannot tell the break between, when it goes off the hardwood and onto the carpet. There's no like transition effect where there's like a little bit of water or a little bit of dirt or anything off the mop at all. It's really good at going, you know what, you're hitting carpet now, I'm getting up. And then it does a really thorough job on the carpet. That extra 10,000 PA does make a difference. It's really kind of cool how much you can customize it. Once you get into the app and you understand kind of all the little bit of pieces it can do, you can really go in there and do quite a significant level of customization in terms of how, if you want it to vacuum first or mop first, how much pressure you want the vacuum to use, whether it comes back and does a second clean, which rooms it does first, which rooms it might avoid. So if you just kind of like just want to get your kitchen done, but you haven't been able to clean up the rest of the house to get it free, you can just do that. Like that customization's really quite significant. You can even actually, by the way, just go into the camera and see what's going on. See if your dog's giving it some curry or something like that. So it's done. When it's happy, it does a pretty good job. I've got a dog that does a lot of shedding, and I've got kids that leave a lot of mess, and it does a pretty good job picking up both. The pet hair in particular, which is probably about that long on my dog. It's not super long, but it's about that long. I haven't noticed any pet hair getting clogged or anything like that. It just seems to just be fine dealing with all of that. And it's great having something that can just go from the wood floor and pick up all the hair on the wood floor and then go to the carpet and just pick up the floor and the carpet in the same movement without me having to physically do anything in the process. So I'm really happy kind of with that transition between the different floors and how well it's handled this complex space. So all positives, right? It's also worth mentioning that battery life hasn't been an issue. It seemed to manage to do both the floors on just one charge, so that's been really good. And I haven't actually had to change the water that much. So even though it's a reduced capacity in terms of the amount of water it holds, I don't feel like I've had to change the water much at all. In fact, most of the time I don't need to change it until I decide to move floors. So let's get into some of the cons, and there are a few cons. So like I said, this thing is happy or it's sad. Now, what I've noticed is that it doesn't really get clogged up with hair or things like that, but it can get kind of clogged up with fluff. So if you've got a carpet that kind of produces a lot of fluff, or I don't know, like stuffed animals that the dog rips up, or little bits and pieces like that, that can actually clog the duo rollers that are kind of spinning in between. And longer hair I've seen get caught around the side brush, which is this one here. So this brush here, which is your side brush. So you've got your duo rollers here, which you're pulling in, and you've got your mop vibration under here, which is doing your vibro, the mopping 3.0, and the brushes that come in like this. Now this system works pretty well, as you can see. Like I haven't cleaned that for filming right now. There's no hair or anything stuck in there, but I have had hair tangle around here. This is the arm that kind of comes out to get into corners like that, and I've seen fluff kind of get caught where it kind of comes through into here, and that kind of blocks it up. And just while we open this open, that's kind of your rise there, see? So it can kind of lift it up and down while we've got this open. Now, the problem is that when it clogs up, you don't know. So you just set it to go around and do its thing, and it just goes and does its thing, and then you come back and the job's just really poor. And you're just like going, what's going on? Like, what's happened? Is it broken? Like, it's just basically, you come back and you're looking at the carpet and you're going, has it even gone over here? And you're looking at the app and it goes, well, it said it's gone over here. And The mopping gets really average, and then you'll find spots where it's just kind of like dumped its load and there's just like a big pile of dust and fluff somewhere. And you're like, what happened there? And it took me, like, because I've been using this now for about 6 weeks. And it took me a while to kind of realize that that was a sign that, it's actually got something, an issue inside. And you pull it over, look up, go, okay, there's a big fluff ball that's stuck in there, pull that out. Or a bit of hair tangled around that thing, pull that off, put it back down, set it to go, and it does an immaculate job again. So the con here isn't that it gets blocked, because that could just be an unavoidable circumstance depending on what kind of rubbish you got in your ground. What I don't like is that it doesn't notify you. It doesn't detect that, hey, we've got a problem here, you need to come and do something. It just goes and just runs around the entire house doing a really average job, then goes back to the dock. I've also noticed this before. It did get stuck once where it went underneath the bed, and my son had left something underneath the bed and it got stuck on it and kind of wedged itself between the object and the top of the bed, right? And again, I didn't get a notification. It didn't send me a notification saying, hey, I'm stuck, come help me. I just eventually went, where's the robot? And looked at the app and went, why is it stopped over there? And then went and found it, and it was in sleep mode where it had got stuck, but it either didn't notify me well enough, because I didn't pick up on a notification if there was one, or I don't know what happened there. I mean, it was under a bed, maybe there was a low light issue with the camera, maybe just the object detection didn't quite hit underneath the bed. But again, the failure to kind of let me know what was going on is what I'm more disappointed with necessarily than the fact that something can go wrong, if that makes sense. And the other con I also noticed was that when it transitions from the wood to a rug, like I've got behind me here, because the rug kind of sits like that and that brush kind of spins around as it gets close to the rug, it can tend to push things kind of up under the rug a little bit. So it can't quite get it out, but it kind of also knocks it in a little bit. So that's the one part where the transition point, doesn't quite hit the mark. Now, this doesn't rule this out as this a great robot vacuum, because it is a really good robot vacuum, but these are some of the negatives that I've come across, along with the fact that the app usability is a bit in a couple of areas. It's a bit hard to find some of that deeper level of features because they're kind of hidden into the menu, and also not including a bit of detergent with the product in the first place. Oh, one other con that I forgot to mention is this. This is the power cable that goes with the device, and my only drama with it is, why is it grey? Why isn't it black? It just looks weird. It looks like there's some sort of foreign object coming out of the back of it, but it's just not color coded. I don't understand that. You've got a white and you've got a black, and we've got a grey cable. So there's a white and a black version of these, but the cable's grey. So, is this the droid you've been looking for? Overall, I'm pretty impressed with the Roborock S8 MaxV Ultra. It definitely offers a lot more than its predecessor. That extra suction power, the more mopping, further into corners, the auto dosing, some really good, nice improvements here that I think justify its existence. And generally, it does a really, really great job cleaning with good battery life, lots of customization features, and great transition between the different surfaces. That's kind of something I've been really impressed with. Also has been really good with the pet hair, which I know a lot of people, like myself, have to deal with. We can't do much about the kids, unfortunately. They just keep making a terrible mess. So I'm happy to recommend this device. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely, like I've gone into. I think if you're someone who's going to be able to set this up and allow it to regularly clean, so every couple of days, even once a day, there's a window for it just to go around, so that it doesn't get into a situation where there's a big build-up of fluff or a big build-up of issues, which, when it's doing a massive space, could potentially cause it to block. Then if you're going to do it like once a week or further than that, then that's where this thing might get into troubles, because it's not going to notify you, as it currently stands, that there's an issue going on. It's just going to keep going, and you're going to come back and go, damn, I have to run that again. Anyway, that kind of aside, Roborock, you've done a pretty good job here with the MaxV Ultra, the S8 MaxV Ultra. Those are my thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you check out my other videos, and until next time, I'll check you later.